Hey, Mike, welcome to the Start and Grow Show. I'm super stoked to have you today. I don't know, we're going to talk about all kinds of cool stuff about coaching and consulting today. And, why don't you just introduce yourself real quick and tell everybody what you're about?
Sure. Thanks, Craig. Excited to be here with the Start and Grow Academy. And yeah, so I'm Mike Blumenthal. I grew up in Midwest Michigan, man. And I kind of found that a good way to introduce yourself is kind of talk about three pivotal moments that shaped how I got here today. So I'd really like to start with that. And so the first pivotal moment was my rearing. My parents really raised me to have a love for learning. We growing up had books and school and emphasis on education. And that was really what my foundation was. And so this kind of growth mindset was a part of my family orientation. And so this actually led me to a small liberal arts school in Michigan called Adrian College with a full tuition academic scholarship. And so when I was in high school, I was really nerdy because I always loved books and working and reading and always was trying new things. And then college, I really grew into this leader where student organizations kind of recognized me to be on campus as kind of a go-to guy. And that's where I began working with some mentors and really kicked off my entrepreneurship journey. I teamed up with a couple Marine veterans, and I was often working 2 to 3 jobs or a couple internships on campus. And so, this first pivotal moment of my life was learning how to work hard and learn new things and have confidence in myself to try out these new things. And so I quickly was putting that into practice with travel. And so in college, I started this. The second pivotal moment was in college. I got to travel for the first time. I hadn't really left Michigan much, and I was going all over. I went to Berlin to study. I went to the Carolinas and down south, and I wanted to get paid to travel. That was my goal coming out of college. And so I landed this management training program at a company called Bosch. And so for 2 years, every 6 months, I was able to go to a new city and a new industry and work an entirely new job. And so this second pivotal moment was learning to be uncomfortable and constantly moving in new environments. And so I really had some opportunities to work in IoT, automotive, manufacturing, and all the while I was building some tech companies with some of those partners I mentioned in the beginning that I met in college. So it was a very busy time. And so I really learned to live outside this comfort zone in new environments and hustling and building things all the time. And so then the third pivotal moment I would say of my life was in 2020. We found out that my mother was diagnosed with terminal breast cancer. And so I went from this, hustling young entrepreneur to, okay, let's drop everything and be with family. And so I really was able to reevaluate where I spent my time, who I spent my time with, what type of activities I would engage in. And fortunately, COVID allowed me to do so with remote options.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, that was really the third pivotal moment. And so last fall, actually, we did lose my mom to breast cancer, which was the most shattering thing I would
Oh,
say I've ever experienced.
I can
And
imagine. Sorry to hear that. That's definitely a tough thing to deal with.
thank you. I appreciate that, Craig. And so I spent, about a week after she passed, I was at a wedding of all things. And one of my good friends came to me and he said, you need to take what your mother has left behind and bring it forward as her legacy. And we had a really, really intimate conversation. And so, I did what anybody does. I grieved, I wept, I journal,
Mhm.
and she was always helping others. That was her thing. She always asked, what could she do to help you? Or how was your family? What are you working on? She never talked about herself. And so I came out of it with, I need to take Elizabeth's love of help and use it to help others. And so all of these entrepreneurial and professional experiences I've had is culminating into Pearl Business Coaching, which I'm now doing for tech entrepreneurs, digital, SaaS, you name it, helping others grow, launch their businesses.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's a great kind of start to your journey, and I love it. It's good to hear the color in all these different adventures you've gone on and all these learning experiences that kind of built you to this. So what kind of made you go down into the consulting route? Well, so let's talk a bit about your consulting business. So what did you have clients right away? Like, how did you kind of start that, and a bit of the why behind it? Like, I think we got that in your, pre-story, but like, what was really that, okay, this is it. This is the direction. After all these choices, this is how I narrowed down to what you want to do.
Yeah, it's a great question. So similar to your background, Craig, I've tried a bunch of different things from two-sided marketplaces, e-com, SaaS, Fortune 100 companies, and I have this breadth of experience and knowledge, and I wanted to channel it into something that was useful for others. And so, I found that the best way to use this generalist mindset is in a consulting way. And I did what the Prosperous Coach recommended and just started reaching out to my network and asked, people had already been talking to me very often. How do I solve this problem, Mike? Or I have this business idea. For years, this has been a theme in my life. And so I finally leaned in and decided, okay, I'm going to formalize this and build a program around it.
That's excellent. So yeah, let's dissect that a bit more too. So like in terms of, so again, reaching out, I understand that. I was similar, right? Like when you start with consulting, you just start knocking on doors, not to use an old metaphor, but now it's kind of slide into your DMs is more the terminology, I think. But that's definitely the fastest way, right? Is just start kind of reaching out and getting it known what you do and things like that. So let's talk a bit more about your program. So what is what do you exactly offer? And, do you go after a specific, like, do you have a dream customer that you're really kind of focused on? And, let's talk a bit about that.
Yeah, great questions, Craig. So we'll start with the programming. So the programming is action-based with, I would say, journaling and a lot of reflection between sessions. And so, when we sit down together, it's very action-oriented. We work on goals, which usually, segueing into the dream customer, these are SaaS and tech founders who are working on in three areas, which are revenue, acquisition, and engagement. And so really those are the three focus areas of the action-based coaching. And then I want to really understand the motivations behind why you want things. For example, clients will say, I really want to get funded. I really want some seed funding. And so we'll break down, well, why do you think you need external funding to grow your business? Can you do it bootstrap? And so it's really a reflection-based time between, between the sessions. And journaling has been a huge part of my growth and development. I journal every day. And so that's a part of the program is between sessions, we give you prompts that are very introspective and you come back, write them down and we talk about them.
Cool. So you're generally working with SaaS founders is what you're kind of saying. And are you usually finding that they're solopreneurs, like they're early stage developers kind of building a product, need a bit of help and somebody to kind of work with them?
Yeah, exactly, Craig. So they're mostly tech solopreneurs, full stack developers, really smart techies. They're missing a lot of the business acumen, and that's where I kind of step in. I call myself the outsourced business partner. So you come in, you have a great idea, you're building a fantastic product, and we work on a lot of the things that you're missing, which could be, how do we hit revenue targets, make a business model, acquire users in a very focused way. So yeah, they're very early solopreneur tech founders.
Are you doing a lot of, is it a done with you kind of service? Do you provide kind of like, is it really just mindset and kind of helping guide them with advice? Or are you, actually implementing some of the strategies that you're suggesting? Do you outsource? Do you bring a team? Do you kind of bring an agency model? Or do you just kind of direct your clients, here's what we need to do and go figure out how to do it?
It's a great question. So the two paths are we can do the one-on-one guidance coaching where, I'm the mirror and here are the things you need to do for next week, accountability based. The other side is done with you, where I bring in my tools, resources, and we can also, outsource as needed. That's what I'm working with several clients on right now. We're hiring, building out SOPs. So yeah, there's either or. If you just want the guidance in a mirror and you're really a go-getter, you don't need another employee or another person in the business, we can do that. Or if you need the help, I'm happy to step in.
Yeah. Oh, that's excellent. What's um what's a project you've worked on recently? Let's kind of hear about, something you're kind of proud of, that you recently done for a client, or client success, like something that's really been gone well for you in the last little while.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'd like to highlight a few. So the first big success that I would like to talk about is, so a client came to me where he was working as a sales rep in a distributorship, and he had the owner come to him and say, "I want you to think about how you could help this company more." And so he came to me and said, "I want to go be an operations manager and get equity in this company that does $10 million a year in revenue." And so he came to me, and 4 weeks later, after action-based coaching, where we put together his own job description, 30, 60, 90-day plan, and replaced himself in a very large sales territory. In 4 weeks, he had the contract with equity stake. So from an idea to actually going and moving cities to go be an equity partner in the business within 4 weeks. So the
That's
power of
incredible.
action, yeah, yeah, the power of action is really understated, I think.
Yeah, no, that's great. How does that make you feel? Like, I know for me, like a big part of me being in the kind of the consulting business and even the coaching is just watching people succeed. But like, what's kind of what's the feeling for you on that? It's obviously a prideful moment, but like, how do you feel when your clients kind of really, knock it out of the park like that?
Yeah, I mean, it really fires me up. That's my purpose. My word of 2023 is purpose, and that's to help others. And that's how my mother's legacy is living on. And so I was absolutely fired up, and I couldn't be more excited to cheer on these people that I'm working for. I'm working for them at this point, and I love it.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. I want to get into a bit more kind of like your own business kind of runnings and how you get clients and, the growing of the consulting business. There's one thing working with clients and the program, but, how do you did talk about your network and things like that in the beginning, but how are you growing now? What are some of the marketing strategies or sales strategies that you're deploying to get more clients and to grow your consulting?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I think this is how we met is that, number one is Twitter.
Yeah.
One of my mentors, he has a 8-figure agency right now. Well, that's the name of his company. And at the beginning of the year, he said, "Get on Twitter, man. That's where business is happening."
Yeah.
And I hadn't really been on it for years. I mean, I started in like '08 or whenever it was out. I had a Twitter account. I haven't been on it in years, and I jumped on, and man, that's where business is happening right now. It's incredible. So really networking, meeting people, asking people about their stories, and just leading with value on Twitter has been a really great acquisition tool for new clients. And it's not even for me about getting the new clients, it's about helping people. And I think they ultimately see the authenticity of that. And then people want to work with people who want to authentically help them. So that's the first part. And building out the funnel where, obviously later you can have content that brings people in via email, via webinars. That's all in the roadmap. A community, which there's Pearl Business Coaching and soon to be a Founders Clamshell where founders can hang out. So that'll
Cool.
be a part of the roadmap. And the other place where I'm really having success is these really cool indie hacker communities where there's a bunch of solopreneurs building technology and building products, excuse me, where they are just building for fun and they don't know where they're going. And that's where I step in because I can help them build a roadmap.
Yeah, it's so true. It's been like that for many years, right? There's this whole kind of like community of people that just like building stuff, and they're not capitalist focused in a lot of ways, and they just like creating and that's what they're good at. But sometimes they accidentally monetize things, and then they're like, how do I run this now? It's amazing. There's a lot of that going on out there. No, I appreciate that. Like, so what are some of the other kind of tactics you're using? So do you use paid ads at all? Is it all organic? I saw you've built out a website and things like that. What are some of the other components, I guess, to your marketing strategy?
Yeah, absolutely. So right now I'm not utilizing any paid ads, but it's a website where I'm basically sending a landing page where I'm sending out to prospective clients and people who I know are building businesses and need the help. I found a lot of my target market is in their 20s, and they're either first-time founders or they're newer and they don't quite have the headspace to succeed. And so really niching into the various different communities that I've found online. There's dozens of them that I can think of. Ramen, there's newsletter communities. And so that's just kind of outbound research like that is how I'm generally going after clients right now with, I think I heard a few of your other guests talk about their tech stack. I use Notion primarily for a lot of, not only for outbound, but for a lot of my lead magnets and to create my programming. So you have your own programming inside of Notion that we go through every week. And then I'm getting into Zapier. I saw today you have this awesome list you built on Twitter using Zapier. So starting to become more competent in some of those tools as well, ConvertKit, so on and so forth.
Yeah, Zapier is powerful. I've been diving into some of the different things you can do. I was actually trying to create this plugin with Zoom here, where it kind of like transcribes all of the conversation, pulls notes out using AI and stuff. And there's some amazing things, and you can have it mail it out to all the audience. And there's some really amazing tools out there. And yeah, automation is great. I'm a big fan of Notion as well. I find that to be a really good tool for kind of organizing not only your own thoughts, but same thing, giveaways. And it's such a powerful platform. I only started using it about, probably within the last 7 months, but, I've completely abandoned my Google Docs and all of that stuff just to get to use Notion. It's such a powerful platform.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think it's one of those tools where you can literally do anything with it. And they have such a great user interface that helps you build anything from a second brain to automations in a CRM. So it's fantastic.
Yeah, it's a very powerful tool. So if you were, I don't know, coaching somebody new here, like, let's talk a bit more about, how does that work? Do you go on retainers? Like, how do you charge for your type of consulting services? I've charged a number of ways in consulting. I've charged by the hour, by the project. I've charged monthly retainers, all kinds of different, ways of kind of structuring this. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs struggle with kind of pricing consulting. Right out the bat, most people are like paid by the hour, right? They're almost kind of like doing the job thing. And I almost don't, yes, there are cases where that works and that makes sense, but I don't think that's the model that most people are doing. So I'm curious about your approach to that, and what maybe some of your experience with kind of trying out different things, and what you landed on. And we don't need to talk about price or anything like that, but I'm more curious about the pricing model per se.
Yep, understood. Yeah, absolutely. So there's the traditional coaching one-on-one, which right now it's a fixed monthly fee that I charge, and so naturally, some people do like to break it down to hourly, especially that's just how people's brains work. They're like, well, and I'm like, well, you don't quite understand, because the value you're getting is not in the X amount of hours per week we're working together.
Yeah.
But the much more, I'd say, unique one is a monthly retainer with a performance-based fee based on the SaaS growth. And so, for example, one of my newer clients came to me and had, just a 3-figure a month SaaS, so less than $1,000 a month SaaS. And so what we said is, monthly retainer to start, and once you get above this number, then I'm going to keep a percentage of that revenue, and we're going to lock in for, a contract. And as the outsourced business partner, there's advantageous parts to the business owner to do that. You're not giving away equity, but you are giving away, monthly revenues as a part of the service. So that's kind of a more creative way I've been thinking about it.
Yeah, that rings a bell for me too. We used to call that venture marketing, in a sense, where you're kind of, you're paid on the performance. We did that. I had an agency in Calgary in the 2000s, and we did that performance marketing with a home builder. So they would build homes, and we negotiated in like, almost like a commission, on our efforts. So can be very lucrative. Can also, if your skills aren't good and you don't succeed, you fail right along with your clients. So it's It's definitely an interesting model. I'll be curious to kind of hear how that works with you. I imagine with SaaS, it's kind of a lot easier to measure, right? Because you can kind of tie it to user growth or revenue growth, and everything's super measurable. So I find that
Yeah.
it's probably a good strategy.
Yeah, exactly. It's less ambiguous than maybe like a billboard or television ads and what your ROI is on that. Everything is really, really, traceable in the online world. So yeah, I found that SaaS, it's much easier to justify performance fees. And ultimately, if they're growing exponentially, it's a win-win, right? You want to build a win-win with your customers.
100%, 100%. So what about let's say a young guy wants to get into kind of the business that you're in, someone's interested in kind of getting into consulting, maybe they've been working in a, large corporation doing something, or they're just, they're just looking that they want to get into more freelance based or more, coaching consulting. What kind of advice would you give to them? How should they go about kind of getting started or moving in that direction?
Yeah, the first thing I would have them do is sit down and journal on, what do they enjoy doing and what are they uniquely good at? What's your competitive advantage? And so that type of prompt really brings out what you would enjoy doing on a day-to-day basis and what you could charge for. And then, I mean, as far as getting into charging for your services, once we've found, hey, like I'm uniquely good at public speaking and writing. Okay, then we build, you look at what service you can offer, and there are dozens of platforms out there for, I would say, freelance work. There's Upwork, there's Fiverr, and of course, you can just reach into your network and find people who have a need. I would say that's the best way to start, is just by doing. Action always beats inaction. So I think, a bit of reflection on the beginning, and then just jumping right in and trying to work for people for a very low price, or for whatever your time is worth in your eyes, is the best way to go.
That's good advice. I think it all comes down to just start. Like just start doing stuff and building towards it. I want to talk a bit about mindset, because I think we don't talk enough about this as entrepreneurs. We don't talk about kind of mental health and things like that, because it's never an easy journey. Entrepreneurship, you're kind of, you play a bit of hunting and you're looking for clients, and sometimes you get lots, sometimes you get none, and
Yeah.
failure is the cornerstone of entrepreneurship. So how do you kind of deal with those things? And again, I like to say, speak to that younger generation, that are just starting out, and how do you help them kind of overcome the ups and downs, and how do you overcome those ups and downs?
Yeah. So honestly, failure, it has to be embraced. I'm really glad you brought this up. I've failed so many times I can't even count. And I don't view it as that. I just embrace it. I learned, and a lot of it I didn't do in public. And a lot of these people who are building in public, I give them so much credit. They're just like throwing their stuff out there and saying, hey, does this look good? Does this work? And letting people give feedback. I think that's fantastic, because you learn. You don't fail, you learn. And as far as mindset goes, I mean, even on my desk right here, I have The Obstacle Is the Way by Ryan
Great book.
Holiday. And it's all about mindset, where you are going to get tossed down in entrepreneurship. You're going to get a bad hand. And that's going to be in life. So you just have to roll with the punches, control what you can control. And if you get out of bed every day and put one foot in front of the other, you're going to keep going. Nobody's going to stop you.
Yeah, it's so true. It's so true. It's really just about, consistency and being tenacious about, going after what it is you want.
Yes.
That's really good. Yeah, I don't know. Anything else you want to share? I really enjoy this kind of conversation. I really enjoy kind of your journey and where you're going. Like what's on the roadmap for the next, 6 months with your organization?
Yeah, yeah. Well, once again, I appreciate you having me on here. I really think you're doing great work. Sharing, free growth guides and building these communities is really just the most powerful part of the internet, and you're really embracing it. As far as, something that I would like to share is, the only thing that's stopping you from achieving your goals is yourself. And as soon as you can identify the limiting beliefs, that I don't want to, that I don't know how, or I don't believe I can, as soon as you can identify those and change them into I can do it, or I will learn and I will grow, it's a game changer for your success, for your mindset, and people gravitate towards that type of mindset. So yeah, I'm really, really glad that we had this conversation. And for the next 6 months right now, of all things I've tried, Craig, at some point I burned out. And I think I'd be curious to hear your take, because it looks like at some point you burned out of your businesses too. And I'm trying to fall in love with the journey and be present and enjoy the journey. And along the way, that it will show me where I'm supposed to be. And so that's what's ahead for me.
100%. That's great. And yes, burnout has definitely hit me. I am, been a serial entrepreneur, and I'm a lifelong student, and I love to learn, and I love business and all this stuff. So, I've definitely been burnt out. I have a family as well. I got 3 kids at home. And so, it comes down to priorities. You really can't do it all. That's ultimately the thing. And, burnout reminds me to really refocus, and, stop doing 10 things and start doing one thing really well, and really focus. And I think a lot of people in the beginning struggle because, especially if you're a generalist, right? It's like you can go down so many rabbit holes and be an expert in a lot of different rabbit holes. But sometimes that's not always, the best use. And sometimes you don't grow because your breadth is too far than your depth, right? And so there's definitely a balance there. But coming back to the burnout, sometimes you got to take a step back and focus on your health, and taking care of both your physical and your mental health, because that's usually where burnout kind of comes in, because you start to substitute work for those things, and so I think those are signals, right? Signals to kind of take a break and reevaluate where you are. So
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I've been rather nomadic throughout the last 5-6 years of my life. And usually at some point, my body calls me home. It says, hey, we can't keep going from place to place, from thing to thing. It's time to stop, relax, come back to, center yourself. And I've had this experiences with business too. Like you said, you take a deep breath and it's time to step back. And quitting is what some people call it. I think it's just a different season of life. When it's time to transition, it's time.
100%. And, I've had 2 agencies, in my career, like full blown agencies, 7-figure agencies. And, I pulled back from that because it's exhausting, and it's a lot of work. Yes, you can make a lot of money, but it's also a lot of work to build out those kind of, big staff kind of organizations. And so I do things differently now, but, sometimes you just want to do a project, you take it to a certain level, and it just doesn't interest you anymore, and you got to pivot and do something that kind of fills the soul a little bit more, because, that's what's important. We got to be happy and enjoy life and not just be about work. So
Yes. Well, I couldn't agree more, Craig. It's all about the journey, not the destination. And if you're not happy where you are right now, you have to reflect on why and make changes to get there.
yeah, 100%. Hey, I really enjoyed this chat. Where can people find you? Can you just give us, where can they find you on Twitter or other social channels, or your website? We'll leave them down below in the description as well, but you can give it a shout out while we're here.
Yeah, absolutely. You can find me on Twitter at Michael Scott Blue, BLU, and pearlbusinesscoaching.com. Both of those have links to make appointments, schedule time to talk, and join my newsletter. So looking forward to seeing this go live. And thanks for the conversation, Craig. I do really appreciate it.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for joining here. And thank you for watching. Please, like and subscribe to these videos. Hit that bell so you can get notified of next episodes. This is only episode 3, more to come. If you're also interested in being on the show, reach out to me on Twitter. There's links below. Just DM me. I would love to hear your story. Get your message out there as well. And, just help other entrepreneurs start and grow their business. So thanks for watching. Thanks again, Mike, and have a great day, everyone.